Hey guys, so as you probably saw in the title, this is going to be my ARC review for Philip Fracassi's Boys in the Valley. This is the first Philip Fracassi book that I have read, although he is very well known for his horror novels, and I loved this book. I got sucked into this book. I want to say thank you so much to Tor Publishers, specifically the Nightfire imprint. Tor Publishing, you guys, their books have been on fire. I have received a couple of ARCs from them. Their books that they have put out lately have just been on fire. I have enjoyed almost all of them. So thank you so much, Tor Publishers, for the ARCs you've sent me, and specifically this book. I have enjoyed this book immensely. So first I want to talk about the cover of this book, and this cover depicts the feel and the vibe of the story perfectly. It's set in an orphanage in the middle of Pennsylvania in the wintertime. There's lots of snow. It's like the early 1900s, like maybe like 1904 or 1902. So, you know, it takes place over 100 years ago. And this story is so addictive. Like the chapters are very short, okay? I don't know. They're usually like 1 to maybe 5 pages long. The chapters are really short, so it's very easy to keep going and reading. I don't know why, but when you have longer chapters in the book, you feel less compelled to keep reading, or at least I do, because I'm like, oh, I can't start another chapter because I'm going to be stuck reading another 20 pages before I finish the chapter. But when there's short chapters, even if you read another 20 pages, it just seems like the short chapters kind of go by quicker, and you have more options for stopping places in the books. So I enjoy the short chapters. I read most of this book all in one day. One night I started this book at nighttime. I only read about 4 chapters before I went to bed. And then the next day I got up and read all the way to section 4. So, and this is page 231. So I basically read 200 pages in one day because I could not put this book down. It seems very like a simple book. It doesn't seem like one I would think would interest me because there's just one setting and it's a secluded orphanage. So it doesn't seem too exciting or like there's that much going on. But this book just amazed me how well it was written, how addictive it was. You're starting out in the very beginning, the prologue, you're following a little boy, and it's late and he's supposed to be in bed, and it's like 1898, I think, is the year. So there's a little boy and his mother is up cooking some dinner. He's supposed to be in bed, but he's still awake, and his father comes home, and his father is not his father's not in a good mood. His father's very angry. His father's been drinking, and he gets aggravated with his mom, and his father kills his mom and then turns around and kills himself and leaves the child an orphan. So then you fast forward 4 years later, and this child is living in this orphanage with other boys and priests. And this orphanage is in the middle of nowhere. Like I've said, it's cold, winter's coming around, there's a big snowstorm coming in, and they are very, very poor. They have hardly enough food to feed everybody. They're always hungry. They do get breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but it's just very small amounts of food. And for growing boys, especially like the teenage boys, they are just always hungry, and they're worked. They have tasks, they have worked out in the field, they have animals that they tend to for food, like they have chickens for eggs, and they have some horses for getting around and when they have to travel outside of the orphanage. So there's lots of chores to be done. The priest that runs, the main priest, the head priest that runs this orphanage, he's very mean as far as his punishments go. He has punishments where he'll throw kids in this, they call it the hole, and it's like a box he put in the ground, and they will be in there by themselves for a day without food and burying the elements, whether it's hot or cold outside. They have a punishment where a kid talks about how he was whipped across his hands for things, and it's something as simple as just not minding, or if you come to a meal in the dining hall and you have dirty hands, you know, they'll punish you by not letting you eat. And when you're already hungry, that's just a terrible punishment. The kids are kind of constantly living in fear. And the boys are kind of cliquey, like they have their, obviously, like their little best friends, but the main kid that you follow is an overall nice guy. He's training to be a priest. He is around 16 years of age, I think, and he's studying to be a priest, and that's kind of the expectation put on him in this orphanage. But he does get to travel around a little bit with some of the other priests when they go on runs to pick up supplies, and he has kind of fallen in love over the years with a little girl that lives on a farm that they visit and buy supplies from. And they've been kind of secretly, but not so secretly, it's like an open secret, they've been writing letters back and forth from each other, and they've been transporting them through the books that she lets him borrow and take back to the orphanage. So it's kind of cute, sweet little romance nugget in there. So one night when all the boys are in their dorm and they're supposed to be in the bedroom, they hear a commotion outside, and a sheriff and some deputies come charging in to the orphanage, and they want to talk with one of the priests. He has some experience in wartime of helping wounded soldiers, and the sheriff has a man he's bringing to the priest who is wounded. And this man was caught sacrificing a little girl. There was a little girl missing, and the sheriff was investigating it, and he followed this trail into the woods, and he found grown men they have like these ritual signs carved into their skin, and they sacrificed this little girl in some kind of satanic ritual, and he shot and killed them all except for one, and that's the guy he's bringing to this orphanage for help, because that man happens to be his brother. And although he understands that his brother is a bad person, he just for some reason can't bring himself to kill his brother. Now when he gets there, the priest starts looking at the wounds, but they had a burlap sack over his head, and they pulled it off, and when they did, they realized that this man is not right. Actually, he's possessed. So the priest starts performing an exorcism to kind of get this demon out of this guy. And when that happens, the guy starts freaking out. The demon starts getting violent. They have him strapped down, but he breaks the straps, and the demon ends up killing one of the sheriffs, or one of the deputies that's with the sheriff. And then the sheriff's brother ends up getting shot. And when his brother gets shot, that demon is kind of released out into this orphanage, and the priest that's doing the exorcism asks the demon, "What is your name?" And he only replies with, "We are many." So that's when all hell breaks loose in this orphanage. These boys start acting up. They start going crazy. Very dark, sinister things start happening. The orphanage becomes very divided, and that's where the story kind of picks up, and you just get hooked on this book. If you like horror books, if you like exorcisms, if you've read Philip Fracassi, maybe all his books are like this. I don't know. This is my first Philip Fracassi book I've read, but if any of his other books are like this one, I will definitely be reading more. This was a great book. I loved the ending. There's a lot of action going on. There's the pacing in this novel is amazing. So it's not quite 5 stars. Like, I didn't quite get that 5-star feeling, but it's close, you guys. I really love this book, and I am so happy to be able to share it with you guys. This book is available. If you have not picked it up yet and you are a fan of horror and kind of exorcism type books, then you've got to go out and get this one. I can't recommend it enough.